What is NativeScript? NativeScript is a runtime environment for building apps in JavaScript. And without web views, we don't use any web views like or Ionic or Cordova. It is one code base, so you have one code base, JavaScript for iOS, Android. You can download this simple NativeScript example from the App Store or Google Store. It's cross-platform, what I say. You can code it in JavaScript, and it runs on iOS, Android, and in the future also on Windows. Why NativeScript? Is one big important thing is that you can reuse your skills, your JavaScript skills, your Angular skills, and you have code you reuse. You can use a lot of thousands of NPM libraries and iOS, Android libraries. You have direct access to native APIs, and you do not use any web views. It is not hybrid like Ionic or PhoneGap. It is open source, and it is quite quick to learn. What I say, you can type in, you can program in JavaScript. You can also use TypeScript. It's a superset of JavaScript. And you can program in an object-oriented way. And you can also use Angular. And Angular is one extra big thing. You can reuse all your code from your web app to also you can reuse it in your for your native apps. You use a lot of NPM modules and pre-built code, so that's all quite easy to make an app. You have a lot of layouts. You recognize it. I show you one example about stack later on, the stack layout. NativeScript is not PhoneGap and Ionic, what I said to you. NativeScript does not use any browser of no DOM. Has direct access to every API. The performance is quite good, and it is more productive because you can program in NativeScript. It's not the same as Xamarin. You have 100% access to the native APIs. It is NativeScript, is tied to JavaScript, but Xamarin is more tightly coupled to C#. It is not useful for the web also. It is not React Native. NativeScript is they say we have a one-liner. They say write once, run everywhere. That is NativeScript. And for React Native, you cannot say that. You can say learn once, write everywhere, and that means you have to write multiple. You have multiple UIs for multiple devices. Okay. On the other hand, React Native is quite good. It is quite fast. And NativeScript I'm talking about, of course, it is. I can use CSS for your styling. Here you see two. On the left-hand side, you can make truly apps with Xamarin and NativeScript, and you use all your device. You can all your device APIs. You can use, and you have also the right-hand side. Oh, sorry. Let's use one thing. Okay, here, the right-hand side, you see an example of hybrid apps, Cordova, Ionic. And that runs on a web view, on a web browser. And you have limited access to the APIs, and it is performance is not so good. These are the creators of NativeScript. This is how you install it. This is quite simple, and you have to for Android you have also to download and install GDK, Android SDK. And for Apple, for iOS, Xcode and iOS SDK. You see in a very simple NativeScript using directly the iOS code. Again. Here I instantiate a iOS object. and I call or I fill a message property, show it on the screen. You have the same kind of code can you introduce for the Android code. But it's not what the web developers want. They want to write JavaScript, of course. So NativeScript has a solution for this. In the middle of the JavaScript and the platform APIs, you can use modules. And I show you one example of a module. Here, a very simple module, dialog module. It's the same code, the same code. It does the same as the code I showed you before, and it is in types, NativeScript. Here you imports the dialogs module, and here you show you show the message on the screen, and it works on both devices. What I say, you can also reuse a lot of modules. Here another module, a little bit more advanced module. It's a HTTP module it allows you to make web requests and receive web responses. You can use it for iOS and Android. But we have one challenge here. We want to reuse this code. We want to share code between our web app and our native apps. And this example does not work in our web app. So what do we have here? We have here a missing link. Here on this side, you see an example of our HTTP module I showed you before. And that works only for the native calls to the Android and the iOS. And we have also, on our website, we have a web app, we have our own HTTP implementation to make the calls. What's the solution for this? To reuse all this module. The solution is Angular. Angular on top here now. We add a new abstraction layer in Angular, and they have one HTTP component. It's a very simple example, of course, but it's an example that you can reuse all your code when you use Angular. You can reuse this code here, and you can use it there. What is Angular? It's TypeScript. It's a superset of JavaScript. You can program in an object-oriented way. It's component-based. Components adds logic to your HTML. It's a dependency injection. All components are loosely coupled. We only program with interfaces. And very efficient development because we can work in IDEs with type checking and auto-completion. It's very short, however, what Angular is. What I said, component-based. Sorry, yeah. Sorry? I don't understand you, sir. Oh, Angular 2. I'm only talking about Angular 2. A component adds logic to the DOM, to your HTML, and an Angular application is a tree, like a tree structure. It follows the structure of your HTML, you can say. This is a simple application I've made. It's about an application with a list of groceries and a login. And the index HTML is of course the parent of the app component, and the app component consists of these two components. Here you see an example of the grocery list, with which you can add groceries and remove. How do we implement this in Angular 2? It's a quick intro. This is still a class, a TypeScript class, and here you define an array, and you fill the array, but it is not a component yet. Here we import a component from Angular, and with this annotation, this class is transformed into a component. And this component has also its own template and has a selector that is the name of the component. I'll show you later how we use that. In one component, we have the MVC model together. We have here the model, and this is the template. This is the view, of course, and all together that's the controller. And this is the way how we can call our this component from the index HTML, for example, groceries list, and that is the same as the selector. This is the template for this component. It loops through the groceries, and it's with the ng4 directive. It's quite easy. How do we do that in native script? There's Angular native script. What does it mean? A lot of code reuse. The only thing we have to change is our view or template. And our template is not written in XML, but it is written it's not written in HTML, but it is written in XML with its own UI widgets. Here you see the same component, but then in native script. It is not changed. We can reuse all our code. But our template is changed. But it's still, you can still recognize how it works. We can still use the ng4 directive from Angular to loop through the groceries. Here you have the HTML format. So this looks quite the same. You can use CSS for styling. That's a big thing because other languages doesn't have that for the iOS. It's quite difficult, or Android has its own difficulties. Okay. What are the benefits of using native script in Angular? You can reuse all your code, component code, of course. In web and mobile, is faster time to market. Okay, you can faster develop with code reuse. And you can reuse all your skills. You have also downsides, but that's not for Angular only. This is for native scripting in general. Yeah, of course, you're tightly coupled to JavaScript. And you have to program in XML for your templates. And you have to optimize your background processes. So yeah, sometimes it is quite difficult to manage all your background threads and background work. So it is sometimes, okay, you can also program in Android or iOS still. You can also do that. You can make a lot of apps with this language. Here I have, suppose I want to make this web component, we call it, to this. I want to change it. I want to make it workable in this for the app. Here you see the Angular web variant of this one. You see two input fields: email, password, login button, sign up button. You see a component with an inline template. I place it here inline, and it is also possible. Here the class with the constructor and submit, etc. Okay, here you see the input fields. And here is the button with a submit event and a click event for toggling, for going to sign up. And you have here the same code, but then in native script, but also with Angular. Okay, it looks quite the same, only here the inline template is quite different. Here you use a text field for the input fields, two buttons. Okay, you see the same code I showed you. It's for the login. And I can also show you the components. We don't use your inline template. That's the only difference from my example. Okay, when I want to log in, okay, let's make it bigger for you. Huh? Want to log in, I go to the user service, I log in, and then let's go to the user service. That's a good idea. It's not here yet. Okay, what is interesting? Service. Login service. Okay, it's quite easy. Here we use the what I talked about, the HTTP module. We can also reuse this code from our web app and our native apps, and this allows us to log in to the OAuth token. And it results to an access token. Okay, this was the story about it.